Hi, Alan.
Hello, Pontus. What brings you to the neighborhood?
I thought we should do some talking about a certain. What's her name?
Is it Carmela? What is her name? Angel something, wasn't it?
Yeah, sure. I think we're getting too old for this.
Quite.
And I see we have a guest joining us. Hello, Ken.
Hi, Pontus. Hi, Alan.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Great to see you guys again in person.
So you've been watching us from the distance, have you?
Yes, on a regular basis. I am a huge fan of Angelina Jordan. As soon as I discovered her, the first song I heard her sing was when she was 9 years old, that little black and white film, I Put a Spell on You. I could not believe what my ears were hearing, what my eyes were seeing. It was just, I was jumping up and down. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
And I've seen that hundreds and hundreds of times and people reacting to it. It's amazing each time.
Yeah. How did you come to that video?
Either it was on Twitter or somewhere, but somehow something popped up on YouTube and I just clicked on it and I think somebody sent me a link, but I checked it out and I was immediately hooked. It's astounding, absolutely astounding. And then I did a deep dive down the Angelina Jordan rabbit hole. I wanted to know everything about her. Who is this young lady? How old is she now? What songs has she sung? And then I discovered she won Norway's Got Talent at the tender age of 7. And then later on, America's Got Talent, the champions, and her version of Bohemian Rhapsody that no one had ever done. It was her own version, which completely blew the judges away and everybody in the audience. And it was so beautiful to see them waving their cell phones like we used to do at our lighters at concerts. And just astounding, the amazing control she has in her voice. And the thing that interested me, above and beyond her amazing talent, was her internal life. And I started to find certain interviews where they would ask certain questions. And she seemed to be, of course, younger, but at that time she seemed to be quite shy. But if you were to ask her why she sang barefoot, she was very happy to tell you the story of meeting that young barefoot homeless girl and giving her shoes and then wanting to sing barefoot in honor of all the poor children in the world who don't have shoes. And I thought, how astounding for a 6-year-old to even think that way and do that. And then to have written that book, and how a friend of the family who was a recognized published poet who saw her diary, heard about the story and encouraged her to publish it. I have a download of it in English. And also the way she wrote, it gave you an insight into her inner life. And also when she spoke to Skavlan, and where he says, where do you go when you sing? And she was describing a transcendental experience, how it's unbounded, it's blissful. She's completely in her own world and in the world of the words that she's singing, and putting all that incredible heart connection, that feeling.
When I sing, I go to another world. It's in the world. It's like endless, full of happiness, and I love. It's amazing. When I'm on stage, I don't want to go. I just want to be on the stage.
So that people who hear these songs, even though they're slightly her own take, they're hearing the words as if for the first time and understanding them for the first time. That's the amazing thing.
Yeah, I saw a reactor today actually that said he was reacting to Heal the World. And he said, Michael Jackson is my all-time favorite and I really know this song. And then he said, no offense to Michael, but I really picked up on the lyrics this time.
I think I heard amazing. The same one. Yeah. And so when he asked more about that experience, and then he asked her, do you talk? And she said, no, she nodded her head. Like he said, do you prefer to write or paint or talk? And so she nodded negative to speaking. And so it just gave me a feeling that she's more of an introvert. There's introverts and extroverts. But she has a huge, rich inner life. And she connects to it easily, automatically. And so when she sings, she's singing from that space inside of herself. And that's why I think many people are touched on that level of their own heart, because they get goosebumps, they start crying, they don't understand what's happening to them. I've experienced all those myself listening to her. The mind likes to have a reason for what the heart's feeling,
Yeah, yeah.
but it has to be her consciousness. She's a child prodigy. She started singing before she could even speak and walk.
I think it's very important, Ken, that we say that you have been meditating for 54 years, and you have been a meditation teacher, and you have met Maharishi. And so when you speak about consciousness and you speak about connecting, you speak from a position of great knowledge and authority. You're not just speaking casually about this, you're speaking from a point of view of some expertise.
Yeah, I studied with Maharishi. My sisters and I, many of our friends, being a publicist, I publicize a lot of the research on transcendental meditation in the fields of health and education. In my own personal case, I also wrote poetry. It's discovered that quite by accident. And there was a certain sensitivity that one has to have towards nature. And I think the meditation had a lot to do with that. And so I was able to write a lot of beautiful poetry. I post all these things on my blog, the Uncarved blog. And of course, I created a huge blog post about Angelina that kept going on and on with all this information I was discovering about her.
Yeah, that's how I discovered you.
This is why you are an ideal guest, because for you to talk about Angelina Jordan's inner world, this has almost been like your profession for the last 50 years. And so you can go into great detail about the nature of the inner world. And that's why this podcast is a bit special. And that's why we invited you, because we really want to focus on the inner world, both not only of Angelina Jordan, but our own inner world and how we react when we hear her.
Yeah, I know. I have tried meditation and not very good at it, but I try and get into a relaxed state. But I never experienced something like what Angelina is talking about, that she enters an endless world and it's amazing there. And I know she has trouble speaking about it, and I understand it's not easy to explain. But could you try, Ken?
I don't claim to understand what her experience is. I'm just going by what I've read and what she said and how I feel listening to her. And with each generation, there's an evolution that's taking place in consciousness. And I think particularly in our time, when there's been millions of people who have been practicing meditation, a lot of them learned transcendental meditation. When I read what she said in answers to those questions, to me as a meditator, it made sense that deep within each one of us is an infinite reservoir of creativity, intelligence, and happiness. And there are all kinds of names for it, Satchidananda, depending on the tradition. What it really is, the fourth state of consciousness, which is a state of pure consciousness. It's transcendental in the sense that it's not waking, dreaming, and sleeping, which are constantly changing one into the other, but it's underlying it, it's hidden, and it's unmanifest. But through the proper technique, one can dip into it like diving into an ocean and coming out. And with repeated dippings in and out over time, one begins to naturally infuse those qualities that are there hidden, and they come out and get infused more in our day-to-day life. And I think the younger one is, the purer the consciousness is. It's not as stressed and diluted by the world as a lot of us have experienced in our own lives. And because she's also had the support of her family from day one, especially her grandmother, God bless her, who exposed her to jazz, who exposed her to music. And it was obviously her dharma, her choice, her decision, this life, to want to become a singer, but not just for the sake of being a singer and getting fame, but becoming a singer to bring love into the world. That to me, and she's demonstrating that in her life, that to me is a huge sign of an evolved soul. And the fact that she's raised millions of euros for homeless children, for poor children and families. She gave away her winnings from Norway's Got Talent. I mean, we're talking about a very special individual soul here who is on a mission, and it's a global mission. And she has the full support of her family, which is fantastic. And maybe I'm a little too out there in what I'm saying, but I feel strongly about it, that she's definitely fulfilling and will fulfill her destiny. And we will be the beneficiaries of that. fulfillment. And she's just like any other teenager. You see her on her TikToks experimenting with her eyes, her looks, and this and that. She's just growing up. But her voice keeps getting better and better. That last Christmas concert she did, that last song she sang, you say, I was amazed. It keeps getting better and better when you can't think, how could she possibly do that? And so she's growing up. The other part of it, guys, is that singing to her, as she said, is as natural as breathing air, and it's fun for her. So those are other signs that whatever she's doing is very natural to her. It's very important that she sings every single day, as it is for those of us who like to listen to her. And those signs, to me, were an indication of an evolved soul who is in touch with those deeper realms of her own consciousness spontaneously. And when she projects through her voice, her being is projected through her voice, her consciousness. And that's why it's pure, it's powerful, it's innocent and natural, and it's blissful. And the thing is, that's why we're all affected by it, because she's touching and enlivening that deep place within us, in our heart and our soul, in our consciousness. And it's getting stirred. And we may not understand it, but we're reacting to it in all these different physiological ways that we're acting.
Yeah.
I think there are two unique things going on. One is the nature of exactly how profoundly connected she is to her inner world. But it's unique because we see thousands of people in the media and we come into contact with people all the time. But she has a different arrangement, which we haven't quite seen before. Ken, maybe you have more insight into this through meditation. But the other ingredient in the puzzle is the fact that she is then able to capture that connection and project it and put it outside of her to show it accurately, exactly as it is, and to have other people almost vibrationally connect in a certain way as well. So there are two very unusual and distinct things going on, which are really almost outside the vocabulary of most people.
Exactly. That analogy of you have a tuning fork here and a tuning fork there. You strike this one, if it's the same key note, it'll start vibrating. Same thing with TM. So in a way, Alan, what you're saying is true, because she is singing from that level and affecting all of those who are open to her, who listen to her, and who respond in kind. And I think it's just an evolutionary miracle that we're watching at this time in our lives.
If you will allow me to quote Shakespeare, he said, "There is more between heaven and earth than is dreamt of in our imagination." It's just a matter of stretching our imagination.
Right. And also look at the era that we're living in. We're living in a high technology era where we're able to see a child, a baby, and sing and continue to sing and grow and sing and grow and astound all of us. When has we ever seen anything like that? I was thinking maybe of Judy Garland when she was a kid in the movies, and then when she got older. But in real time, we're lucky to be in this time where, because of technology, she's able to post all her songs on YouTube. We're all able to enjoy it, and we're all moved by. You guys have been tracking all these transformations in people's lives, and I've read them. They're astounding.
The question is almost, how connected can a human being be? And I don't think any one of us can have an answer, but if we look at someone like Angelina Jordan, she almost forces us to redefine terms. She almost forces us to come up with a different type of equation in terms of what she's doing, in terms of inner world, her art, and the reaction in us.
Yes, you're right. It's unprecedented. We haven't seen anything like this before.
Let me just ask you, Ken, if I'm getting this right. This kind of meditation technique and the benefits is something that we all have in us, but it takes a lot of practice to master.
The beauty of transcendental meditation, basically, it's a very simple, effortless, natural technique that we do twice a day, sitting with the eyes closed. There's no trying. You're taught how to experience a certain thought that's suited for you in your own nervous system, and to experience naturally, effortlessly, as it takes an inward dive. Think of a cross section of an ocean. And on the top, let's say you're in a boat, it's topsy-turvy, a lot of rough waves. But if you were to dive deep below the surface, it's vaster, it's quieter, it's still. And the mind is the same way. Our minds are preoccupied with thoughts throughout the day. Oh, I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to make that call, oh, I got to finish this project. There's no end to it. But when we sit to meditate, we take the attention of the mind naturally within. We're closing our eyes, we're not minding anything around us. Even the thoughts that we're having, Pontus, we're not interested in them. They come and they go. So it's like giving the mind a bath, a calm, settled, nourishing bath, and then coming out, and the mind and body is there to be more effective in our routines. There's an accumulative growth that takes place over time with regular practice. 20 minutes of TM twice a day, and then 8-10 hours of activity. And then at the end of the day, you meditate and get rid of all the fatigue and all the stress, and then you're fresh and alert for the evening's activities. We're all born with that potentiality within us. Some are using more, some less. I think Einstein maybe used a bit more, but most people are using 8 to 10% of their mental potential anyway. So this gives us a chance to unfold and utilize more and more of our innate potential. So it's just a guess on my part that Angelina is someone who naturally has been born with utilizing more from the start. And the fact that she, as a child prodigy like her grandmother, means that she's already using more of her mental potential than most of us.
I'm just curious about the connection between the world that she's talking about going into. And it's, of course, not only her. I've heard Eric Clapton has talked about how he goes into a special place when he's playing his guitar, for instance. And other creative minds also use that kind of phrasing, that they're in a different state. I'm just curious about the connection between TM and that sort of special place, because when I hear you describe TM, it's more like it's a place where there is calmness, like deep sort of relaxation. I don't hear it like it's a place of, what does she call it, eternal happiness. Yeah, of course, you said happiness. You can almost see it in some of the clips that her eyes are rolling up, and she's going into that place and she becomes almost another person. And when she's done singing, she goes bye, like a teenager again.
What you're saying is very important and very astute, and that is, there's two aspects to this whole process of development. Within the meditation itself, within TM, there's an inward stroke and an outward stroke. And one's motivated by the nature of the mind to go towards greater happiness, and the other is motivated by the body to be rid of stress and become more free and flexible. And that is, and I've had that experience myself too sometimes when I'm lecturing to a lot of people, where sometimes you just feel you're in the flow. And it's so automatic, as if removed from it, but it's going on and you're witnessing it. You're a witness to it.
Yeah, I know Tiger Woods, the golf player, he said once that when he was playing the best, he didn't even recall doing anything on the course because he was in the zone and he had no recollection of it. That's amazing.
Absolutely. In fact, Marius used to say, with TM, we do less and accomplish more. And he says, ultimately, we do nothing and accomplish everything.
Yeah. And if I want to start with TM, where do you recommend I should go on the internet to learn it?
TM.org.
Yeah, okay.
And there also is a world site which gives you all the TM centers where you live in all the different countries. But if you want, you can email me and let me know where you're living and how close you are to a major center, and I can put you in touch with a teacher who's teaching where.
Do you think it's important to do it like one-on-one, or is it like...
Yeah, the way it's taught, it's a 7-step program, but they've modified it to include an app. Okay. So there's now...
I hope it's not too late for me.
No, it's not too late.
I heard a wonderful expression once. Someone said, it is your unlimited mind leading your limited body. And in that one sentence, the most special word is unlimited, because how unlimited can your mind be? And also, your unlimited mind needs to relinquish control and listen to your body the way an animal listens to his body in the wild.
That's
That's
great.
interesting. Yeah, because in TM, the body and mind together work in a natural way. And you discover this once you start to meditate and experience it for yourself. And it's a refinement that takes place over time. The nervous system is becoming less limited, freer from stress, and the mind also is becoming more fluid, more flexible, more expanded. And that we call it restful alertness.
I remember watching a dog run around at the beach. This was not a sandy beach, it was filled with different sized stones. And this dog was running full speed ahead of all those rocks. And it's like animals do, they just let the body take over. Like it takes control. A human being could never do that because we're just thinking, oh, I'm going to trip.
And that's what TM is. It's learning how to let go and the mind and body automatically do the whole process.
Maybe that's one part of the answer to the riddle of why Angelina Jordan, in my mind, is the world's best singer. Because she lets go and lets the music take over. And she lets the lyrics and the music and everything come together in a way that's the optimal way possible for my ears to listen to.
She'll take certain songs and she slows them down. She'll turn them into a jazz slowed down version. She did it with Bohemian Rhapsody. She did it with Michael Jackson's Billie Jean that no one ever did before. So this slowing down is part of that process of transcending in a way, is that if you listen to her, she's slowing down the song. She's putting her own spin on it. She's also singing it from inside her own heart mind. It's one. And so if there's any thinking, it's just automatic where she's placing her voice. It's so integrated.
I think we need to develop a new language. I don't think it's enough to call the best singer in the world. I think we need to come up with new terms. Maybe we should call her the most original and unique communicator in the world.
That certainly is part of it, Alan, because when she's singing those words, she slowed the whole thing down. People are listening slowed down. And she's clearly enunciating those words and the feeling behind those words, that people are listening to them and reacting to them and understanding them for the first time. So there's a lot going on there that meets the eye or the ear. You know.
Another example is in California Dreaming. She also did that very slowly.
California dreaming, oh, in a such a winter day.
And there's a song by Chris Isaac, Wicked Game. That's really slow. And I wonder what her process is in those situations. If she takes a song and she automatically knows just exactly what tempo and how the phrasing should be, and she just lets it go. Because the Adele cover, Easy on Me, she did that in two or 3 days, I think.
Maybe less.
That's amazing.
It's amazing, yeah. Adele's songs, Amy Winehouse, those are all suited to her. They really are. And that other song she did, Baby Fuzz, before he even released it, again, she made it her own. And it's so profound. I've listened to some reactor who thought that she might have written it. He couldn't understand how she could have written something like that. And then the comments are educating him, explaining to him the whole story behind that song.
I've been hanging on your shadow for so long.
But still, again, this comes up all the time. How can a young child, a young girl understand what those words are implying, what they're saying? She doesn't have to. She somehow feels it. People have called her an empath. We don't really know what she understands or feels, but it's pretty impressive.
And it will be so interesting to see her own material taking shape now.
This year, her album's going to come out.
Yeah, do you know what you call 2022? It's the year of the album.
You know, if we look back 50 or 60 years ago, when we were children ourselves, how different we felt and how different we experienced the world. Now, Angelina Jordan is that age when we can barely remember how we were perceiving the world, but she perceived the world so different than we did. It's almost like we're a different species.
Yeah, it's especially with cell phones and instant communication. She's singing on her phone in a parking lot, and the whole world's listening next day.
But it's interesting to reflect upon human evolution. I read somewhere that the amount of prodigies in the world is on the rise, and especially the kind of prodigies that are socially well-functioning. And maybe this is like a sign of sort of a step in human evolution, that we are expanding. And maybe the world is actually going to be a better place because of it.
Absolutely, Pontus. Absolutely. That's what's happening, yes. And in fact, Maharshi talked about that. He wanted to create a certain phase transition with enough people meditating twice a day to allow this evolution to take place that's just waiting to happen. And so these are signs of that rise in collective consciousness that's already happened, taken place. And so we have a lot to us guys who are at the latter end of our lives.
Hey, talk for yourselves.
I'll talk for myself. These are comments that other reactors have said too. They only hope that they can live long enough to see the full blossoming of Angelina Jordan. I absolutely agree with that, yeah.
And the post-Angelina world.
Oh, I don't know if we'll be around to see that, but maybe there'll be others in different fields, you know?
It's so interesting because normally when the word evolution is used, it's used like over 10,000 years or 100,000 years. But we're talking about seeing evolution within a generation. So it's almost everything has gone fast forward.
Absolutely.
There's a thing about evolution that it could be not drawn out, but it's in phases with very fast transitions between phases. I think there's some signs of that within the fossils that are left behind, that there could be explosions of evolution.
Yes, there have been throughout history different times like that when rapid steps of evolution have occurred. She talked about 7 states of consciousness, and that more and more people meditate, it becomes easier and easier for these states, which he called normal. He says everything else is subnormal. We haven't reached normality yet. Once we evolve our consciousness, individually and collectively as a society, then all these things will just happen automatically. There'll be more and more what we might consider child prodigies. But the ultimate test is that there won't be any more war. There won't be any more struggle, suffering. It's a lofty goal, but it takes time, and it's been speeded up. This process of evolution has been speeded up in our generation. Who knows? Maybe there is light at the end of the tunnel.
I think this is a great place to end our conversation, Ken. And it's absolutely wonderful that you were able to focus on the changes of different consciousness that you have firsthand experience about through meditation, and you are able to layer that conversation into our conversation of Angelina Jordan, because it just gives us all a new perspective of maybe how to understand this phenomena that we all react to. And she stretches us, and we have to stretch our minds in order to understand what she's doing. So thank you, Ken. You've been a real godsend.
Yeah.
I really appreciated speaking with you because we're all fans. And so it's always a joy to talk about Angelina and try to understand what's happening. And it's just a matter of time. And so she's a bright light as an example of that transformation that's already occurring. How else could it happen?
I think we will have to get back to you on this one.
Okay.
There's a lot more to speak about, I think.
especially this coming year when she has her album out. Thank you so much for
So,
inviting me. I was so
yeah.
surprised, and because I really admire you guys. It's nice to finally meet with you and be friends and sharing the same appreciation of Angelina Jordan.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ken. Our pleasure.